Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to be talking about all things slope. This is going to go very, very quickly because I want to be sure I'm in the time limit that allows me to post it to YouTube, which means you may have to pause, rewind, that sort of thing. The directions for 1 through 4 state, write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line. To begin, we look for either the slope or the y-intercept, but if you look at number 1, there is no slope. We have a straight line going across at the -1 point on the y-axis. This means y is going to equal -1, and you're done, because there's a 0x slope, and we don't write 0, because 0 would be silly. Moving on to number 2. Number 2 is one we actually have to work. We know slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Y equals and the x all stay standard. The m is your slope, which is where you have to go, find 2 points on the line. There's 1 point. Go up the line to see where it's crossing at the hairs, and this looks like the next point. Draw my line down. Draw my line over, and it's time to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So rise over run tells me that it's going to be a 4/3. And then when I take a look at this line, I notice it is not a puff puff positive. In fact, it is a nice negative. So it's a -4/3. Then I have to look for my y-intercept. Where am I crossing this y-axis? All the way up. There it is. So it would be a -5 tacked on. So the slope-intercept form of this line is y equals -4/3 x minus 5. And I'm done. You need to do numbers 4 and numbers 3. The next set of directions you have is to graph the line. Okay. Y equals 0. Remember the first one where we talked about when there is no slope, because there is no x term right here? So that means that I go to 0 on the y, and I just draw my line going across, which happens to be on the x-axis. And you're done. Number 2, on the other hand, is going to require a lot more work. So, let's begin. I have 5x minus or plus 2y equals 10. Step 1, circle y, draw your line at the equal sign. Circle y, draw line at equal sign. Step 2, subtract x term. Well, I have a positive 5x, so I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. Once I do that, step 3, combine like terms. Says I need to zero those out, and I have 2y left, and those are not like terms, so they do not combine. So I have 10 minus 5x. So then step 4 says it's time to divide or multiply the y term's coefficient, which means since it's 2 times y, I have to divide by 2. So I divide by 2. You'll notice whatever I do over here to this side, also gets done over here to this side, and it gets done to both terms. We will talk more about that here in a minute. 2 divided by 2 here makes that a 1. So I have y equals 5 divided by 2 is 5. And negative 5 divided by 2, since it's attached to the x and it's the slope, it just gets to stay the fraction it is, because that tells me my rise over run. You do not want to make it a decimal. You do not want to make it a mixed number. That would make things much more challenging for you than what it needs to be. Now it's time to graph our line. We have y by itself, and its coefficient is 1. So I come over here to graph. Begin with the y-intercept. Now remember, the y-intercept is the number not attached to x. So my y-intercept is going to be a 5. That is where my first dot is. From there, finish your line by using the slope. My slope is a negative 5 over 2, which means I either have to count down 5 and then go to the right 2, because it's a negative line, so I want it going like this. Or I could count up 5, but I run off the graph. So really, my only choice is to count down 5, go to the right 2, and put my dot. And then connect. And I'm done. You need to make sure you have these notes, especially if you are struggling. If I were you, I would hit pause at this moment. We're going to do the same thing again, but this time without writing all the notes off to the side. So I have 9x minus 4y equals negative 16. So remember, our notes say we circle our y term, draw our line at the middle, look to that x term, and subtract it from both sides. Once we have that done, these zero out, and I have negative 4y left down here. Negative 16 and negative 9x will not combine under any circumstances. Go back and circle what I'm solving for. I got a negative 4 in the circle then. So I divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. Do not get confused by the negatives and think you need to add. Negative 16 divided by negative 4 is a positive 4. Negative 9 divided by negative 4 turns into a positive 9 over 4x. So, to graph, I start with my y-intercept, which is this 4 number right here. So I go to my y-axis on 4 and I put it up. My slope is a 9 over 4. So I go over here to my thing and I realize I can't go up 9, so I must go down 9. So I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm at the negative 5. Then I need to go over 4. Well, if I go this way 4, I'm looking like a negative line. I don't want a negative line, so I'm going to come back and go to the left 4, and then I'm looking like it's going to be a positive line, which is what I need. So I'm going to put my dot, and I'm going to connect my line, and then I'm going to take another look at it, and I'm going to make sure that my positive line matches this positive slope right here, and it does, so I'm done. We are going to do the exact same thing on this one. I have 2x plus 5y equals 10. So I begin by circling, drawing my line, and subtracting the 2x from both sides. So now I have my 5y equals 10 minus 2x. So then, circle it, divide it by 5, divide it by 5, and I'm left with y equals 10 divided by 5 is 2. Negative 2 divided by 5 is written as negative 2 divided by 5x. I'm ready to graph. I begin at my y-intercept, which is a positive 2. So that's where my little dot goes. My slope is a negative 2 over 5, so if I go down 2, I go to the right 5. If I choose to go up 2, I can go to the left 5, and then I connect. Is my line negative? Sure looks like it. Is my slope negative? Yes, it is. Alrighty, we are going to start on point-sloped form. We need to begin with our equation, which they've already written in point-slope form. We just need to turn it into slope-intercept form, which means it looks like every other equation except for we have two variables and we're going to keep y by itself. So I'm going to begin by rewriting my y plus 5. Once I've done that, I can do the distributed property over here, negative 4x plus 8, and then circle what I'm solving for. And what moves? That positive 5, so I need to subtract 5 from both sides. You'll notice I put my minus 5 all the way over here underneath that 8, because I cannot subtract 5 from a 4x because it has an x term attached to it. So that equals 0, and I have y equals negative 4x plus 3. Is y by itself? Yes. Is it a positive 1 coefficient? Yes. So I'm done. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now at this point, if you have not grabbed a calculator, you may want to do so because you'll notice what is my slope term now. It's a fraction. So you can put these in your calculator. I'm going to begin again by rewriting y plus 1 and then distributing here and there. 1/2 times x, 1/2 x, 1/2 times a negative 4. Now remember when we multiply fractions, what is negative 4 written as a fraction? Any number as a fraction is a number over 1. So I multiply across. 1 times negative 4 is negative 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is a negative 2. So then I got to subtract 1 from both sides. And I end up with y equals 1/2 x minus 3. Easy peasies. Do not make them more difficult than they are. Same thing over here. I'm going to distribute here. So I have y minus 2 equals negative 2/3 x. Again, multiplying across. So I have negative 2/3 times 3 over 1. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And bring the negative attached to it. So then from here, I have to add my 2 to both sides. Those 0, and y equals negative 2/3 x. Negative 2 and positive 2, 0 there as well. And you're done. Thank you for listening.